Okay, so now we are on page 80. We're gonna start on exercise 7, so it's about halfway down your page. And the instructions say, construct a rectangle on the coordinate plane that satisfies each of the criteria listed below. We're going to identify the coordinate of each of its vertices, which that just means each of the points of the rectangle, those corners. And here are our conditions. Each of the vertices have to lie in a different quadrant, so that means we have to have a point in all four. Its sides are either vertical or horizontal, so that means that our line segments of the rectangle are going to be either up and down vertical or left and right horizontal. And the perimeter of the rectangle is 28 units. So remember perimeter, if we drew a rectangle, the perimeter is the outside. And so remember with a rectangle, the sides opposite of each other are going to have the same measure. So notice I'm using one hash mark to represent that length is going to be the same. And then the other side, the other set of sides that's across from each other, those have to be the same length. And so they can only be vertical or horizontal. So there's lots of different rectangles that we could do that would meet this criteria. So what I want to start with first is figuring out what sides I want to be of my rectangle so that it'll be a perimeter of 28, because that's when we add all those side lengths together. Think about like a fence in a yard. That would be representing a perimeter. Well, I could have this side be 10. This other side would then also have to be 10. So that would be 20 total. Well, then I only have 8 remaining. So half of 8 would be 4. So that means that each of these sides would have to be a length of 4. So let's go ahead and do this one here. And remember that I have to have a coordinate point in each of the quadrants. So let's just pick a point on our coordinate plane to start. So I'm going to go over 4 to the left of the origin. So I have -4, and then I'm going to go up 2. I'm going to call this point W, and that is going to be my first point of my rectangle, that vertex. So my first point is W, and then it is at the point -4, +2. So it is -4, 2. Well, now we have to remember that its sides are either vertical or horizontal. So I'm going to count to the right to figure out my next point. And so remember that it has to have a length of 10. So I'm going to count 10. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's the length of 10. I'm going to call this point X. So now let's figure out where it's located on our coordinate plane. So we'll count to the right of 0 and then up. So X is at the point 6, 2. And so there is one segment of my rectangle. Now let's figure out our other vertices. So now we need to figure out the vertical segment here. And so we said they're going to have a length of 4, so I'm going to count down. I'm going to call this point Y. So let's figure out its coordinate. So Y, we would count to the left of 0, so that would be -4, and then down 2, so it would be -4, -2. And then to find this last point, we could do it a couple different ways. We could count down from X, or we could count to the right of Y, 10. Either way you can do it. I'm going to count down from X, and remember it has to have a length of 4. I'm going to call this point Z. So then Z is at the point 6, -2. So then I'm going to fill in these line segments. Okay, so now I can see I have my rectangle here. It satisfies that each of the vertices are in a different quadrant. They're all vertical or horizontal, and they have a perimeter that is 28 units. Okay, so we're going to use absolute value to show how the lengths of the sides of your rectangle provide a perimeter of 28 units. So let's just take, for example, the segment WX. Well, remember, they have the same Y value, so of course that means they're horizontal, which we show here. They're in different quadrants, so that means we add the absolute values together to get the length of that segment. So we would do the absolute value of -4 plus the absolute value of 6. Absolute value of -4 is +4. Absolute value of 6 is 6. 4 plus 6 equals 10. So then we showed that, hey, this has a length of 10, which is what we had designed it to be. And we could do this with all of them to show that it gives us a total perimeter of 28. Well, the other cool thing is now we can find the area. And so to find the area, it is equal to base times the height of our rectangle. So the base of our rectangle, right here, we said it had a length of 10 units. So the area is equal to 10. And then our height, so it's that vertical one now, is 4. So it'd be 10 times 4. So the area of it would be 40 units. And then in this case, because we were talking about area, it would be units squared. So we would have to have that exponent. So the area would be 40 units squared, but the perimeter is 28 units.